Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to get started in just a minute, but there are some things to go over first. We ask that you type your questions in the Q&A box. The presenters will get to those either during the presentation or right towards the end. We'll also be posting a link to our survey in the Q&A window as an announcement. We hope that you could take some time to fill that out. That just lets us know how you feel about these webinars and what we can do to make them better. Your speakers today are Adeze Chukwu, a program manager, Nati Pratikal, a program manager with Microsoft, and then we also have Ron Raisin, VP of Products in Strategy Alliance, along with Ed Coates, a CEO and founder with Silverfort. We'll be kicking off today's session with Ed, so take it away, Ed.
Thank you very much. Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today, and thanks Microsoft for hosting us. So I will start today with just a quick overview of what we've been doing together and what this new offering is about. And then I'll hand it over to Adeze, Nati, and Ron to discuss it and answer any questions. So hopefully you'll find it useful and you'll be able to see what we are now able to do together. So I'll talk very quickly just about this partnership and about Silverfort. If you don't know Silverfort, we are the provider of unified identity protection platform. It allows companies to unify and extend identity protection everywhere, including to systems that couldn't be protected before, and to enable companies to connect any kind of asset, application, device, infrastructure into Azure AD so you can benefit from the same security features and user experience and zero trust security approach everywhere across your hybrid environment. So we've been working with Microsoft on this integration for a while, and we're very excited to be able to share it today. Silverfort and Microsoft are working together to help customers bring unified security and user experience across the hybrid environment. Silverfort is also a member of the Microsoft Intelligent Security Association and a cross-sell partner. So I will not talk a lot about this partnership. I'll really jump right into what we've been doing together now. So I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with Azure AD, which is obviously a great solution for for protecting and managing access to applications everywhere, both in the cloud and on-premise. And there are a lot of different applications that are supported by Azure AD today, directly or through Microsoft's partners. But there are also some types of assets that were out of scope until now. Things like legacy systems, infrastructure, instances on other cloud environments, industrial systems, healthcare systems, and things like that that are still relying on other types of authentication protocols or legacy authentication, or just being managed on other identity solutions. Until now, you had to manage these things separately. So you had Azure AD for a lot of these different things with all the great features that Azure AD offers, and all these other identity platforms that are usually offering different features and sometimes not as comprehensive as what you could get with Azure AD. And these are the things that Silverfort is able to protect. And now what we can do with Microsoft with this new integration is we can actually bring all these different assets into Azure AD as if they were natively supported by Azure AD. This means you can connect to a command line tool or a legacy system or an instance or another cloud environment using Azure AD with the same experience with single sign-on, MFA, conditional access, zero trust. You can manage everything from Azure AD, you can get all the visibility there, and you get the same user experience everywhere. And this journey actually includes 3 steps, which we built together with the Microsoft team. This was really a joint effort in understanding how do we help customers across, throughout this journey. So the first step is discovering all the applications and systems you have across these different environments. We can connect with the different identity platforms. We can see what applications you have in Active Directory, or even other vendors that offer identity and access management. Then we help you prioritize and understand what can be migrated to Azure AD natively. We'll show you what are the dependencies, what are the applications that are being used more, so you can really plan your migration. And then what I think is really the most unique thing about this joint offering is you can even bridge applications and systems that couldn't be migrated before, things that are not even web-based. And they can now be connected into Azure AD to enjoy all the benefits of Azure AD, even for those assets. So I want to quickly show you what it looks like. I think this is really the best way to understand the advantages of this new approach. So what you see here, this is Silverfort's side, looking at all the different identity platforms that you have in your company. In this case, Active Directory, Azure AD, ADFS. You can have even third-party identity providers in here. And what we do first is we map all the different applications that connect to these different identity platforms. We show you which identity solution each of them is using today. For example, in this example, Workday is using ADFS, and this is something that can be migrated to Azure AD. So we help you understand how can it be migrated, who will be affected by showing you who is using this application right now, what are the dependencies, help you prioritize the migration. But then there are some assets that cannot be natively migrated to Azure AD. Things like legacy systems, command line tools, industrial systems, other clouds. In this example, we'll show remote PowerShell to a domain controller. This is an interface that attackers really like, these command line interfaces. And now with a simple click of a button, we can connect it into Azure AD. So what you can see here, this is Azure AD, and all the things here with the Silverfort icon are bridged applications. So again, this example of a remote PowerShell to a domain controller, we can now build a conditional access policy for it. And when we actually try to access the application, the remote PowerShell, we'll be able to sign in with Azure AD, with a password, with MFA, with single sign-on, whatever you have configured, even though this is an interface that couldn't be protected with Azure AD before. Now it can all be managed from Azure AD. You get the visibility, you see who can access these applications, who's using them. You can build all the different policies with single sign-on, MFA, and you can really achieve unified user experience and unified security with a zero trust approach everywhere, not only for your modern web applications, but for any kind of access. So what do customers gain from this new offering? So first, it's the ability to extend Azure AD with all the great features you have there, conditional access, SSO, MFA, and more, even to applications that couldn't be protected before, as we mentioned earlier, to achieve a zero trust approach everywhere. Because the idea of zero trust is really controlling any access and verifying users no matter what they're accessing. Not only web applications, not only the perimeter, but really any kind of access. And this is what we enable here on Azure AD. We also enable you to consolidate your hybrid IAM. Instead of using multiple different identity solutions, now you can manage everything from one place, reduce your efforts, your costs. You can gain unified visibility and risk analysis across the hybrid and the multi-cloud environment. And you can even gradually migrate applications to Azure AD, because you don't need to take the application, configure it to now work completely with Azure AD so all the users are affected at once. You can actually bridge this application to Azure AD and only have it affect some of the users. So a lot of benefits in helping customers connect anything into Azure AD and enjoy the same unified user experience and security everywhere. We are seeing this is something that a lot of enterprises are looking for these days, because remote work and the migration to the cloud is turning corporate networks perimeterless. It's not possible anymore to protect them by just putting some kind of proxy. And what we can do with this solution, as opposed to installing agents on the servers or putting proxies in front of them, is an ability to seamlessly bring secure authentication everywhere, saving companies a lot of time and cost. So now, after this short introduction, we wanted to answer some questions, discuss it, and I'll hand it over to Nati and Daisy and Ron to talk about it and answer your questions. If you have any questions, feel free to post them and we'll answer them throughout this session. So I'll hand it over to you guys.
Sound good. All right. Thank you so much, Ed. I think this is exciting because I heard last year that a lot of customer during the pandemic really want to enable secure remote access, and having one IDP or one identity provider like Azure AD has been top of mind. I start to see a lot of questions coming in. Let me look at the first question here. I think this might be for Ron. What are the customer needs and feedback that drove Silverfort to create this new offering? So Ron, do you have any feedback there?
Sure, yeah, thanks, Nati. Actually, that's a good question. So, really the main feedback that we got was from CISOs, CIOs, IAM leaders that were really looking for unification, right? So that was the pain point. They have, and most companies have siloed identity providers that are managed separately, that come with separate security controls, separate security capabilities, and really the overhead and cost of having that separation is there's an overhead, but it also impacts security. Using Silverfort, really, we can allow customers to protect more assets and more applications wherever they actually are, and move them into one consolidated place, being Azure AD. And really the approaches and what people are struggling with, and we feel that this solves, is really the capability to add modern security to legacy applications, and support this in a hybrid environment and also in a multi-cloud environment, and because that's where our customers are, right? They're hybrid, they're multi-cloud, so that's the general feedback.
Cool. All right. Second question. This one might be for Adese. What are the benefits of connecting more applications and assets to Azure AD? Adese, please go ahead.
Yeah, so thanks, Oti. So we know right now that remote work has upticked due to the pandemic. A lot of people working remotely. People have had to, and enterprises employees have had to get to the workloads in the hybrid environment or on-prem for applications. And Azure AD extends protection, security protection, such as conditional access, passwordless, which protects our customers. Our customers are always, top of mind for us when we create these solutions, and all of these conditional access and passwordless, they all adhere to the zero trust security methodology, which says never trust, always verify. So that way we're protecting our customers whenever we add more and more applications and extend the capabilities of Azure AD that way.
Awesome. Next one is for Ron. How is this solution different from other products, such as or the proxy solution?
And that's a good question. So there's many available proxy solutions, including the Microsoft App Proxy, which are great. What they excel in is really protecting legacy web applications, and that's the forte. That's what they do. Silverfort covers other things that are not covered by any of these solutions, which is interfaces that cannot be, proxied with these kind of proxies. I said proxies a little too much, but I'm talking of things that you're familiar with, like RDP access to servers, SSH access, remote PowerShell, WinRM, remote registry, WMI, you name it. Any kind of interface that isn't web-based would be out of scope for those solutions, where Silverfort can cover them, as you saw in the short demo that Ted displayed, the remote PowerShell, for instance. So that's one key differentiator. Another important one to keep in mind is the architecture aspect. For those of you on the technical side, we're not sitting in line in front of your applications from an architectural perspective. I know we didn't get to that in this presentation, but we are actually sitting behind the scenes, integrating with your identity providers, with your various IDPs, identity sources, And that allows us to handle things from behind the scenes. It doesn't require any configuration change on the application side whatsoever. So that ease of integration really allows you to do zero changes on the application side.
Awesome. I still encourage everybody to submit your question. We're going to go through that as we see it. Thank you, Ron. Next one, I think it's might be for me and Ron. How does this solution help customer achieve zero trust security? First of all, it's really important to understand that, during the pandemic, a lot of customers need to enable everybody to work from home. And I think to understand who should have access to what, as well as enable the access to all the application resources is really important. Plus, having a single identity provider will enable customer to be able to see end-to-end. Like imagine when the IT admin has to manage all the security, risk and policy, having one is always important and good. And that's probably going to heard us talk about identity as a control plane a lot there, right? So once you have everything connected to Azure AD, then you can control who should have access to what, have the right policy setting, as well as when you leverage Silverfort, I bet that you have a lot more capability there. Maybe Ron, you can talk more about how Silverfort can protect customer and help them to achieve zero trust.
Yeah, so that's spot on. So what and we really are. I think both companies really believe in the zero trust vision. It's an approach that companies are taking steps in the way. So it's not a switch that you flip on and you're in zero trust, but it's a journey, right? So we really believe that zero trust needs to be everywhere, right? So it's not covering a specific application with strong authentication, but it's really meeting the users and securing them wherever they are. So it means you need to assess and protect users all the time, wherever they are. This means in web applications, in on-premise applications, in a multi-cloud environment, you have to constantly validate the users are who they say they are, either via methods like MFA or risk-based authentication, or constantly evaluating that they are authentic. And that's something that you have to do everywhere. So that's really what this joint solution brings to the table, a capability to touch the users wherever they are.
Awesome. Next one, I think is for Adese and Ron. What kind of customers can benefit from this solution?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, we've seen an uptick in remote work due to the times that we're living in right now. So this solution benefits every enterprise. So it doesn't matter if it's medium, if it's large, any enterprise that has like a hybrid environment, you have some legacy apps on-prem, some LOB apps. So Ron can go into more what sort of verticals this would be particularly, particularly important to.
Yeah, so just to add on top of that, again, medium, large companies, companies with sensitive data, we've seen a lot of success with financial companies, in the banking sector, insurance, hedge funds, also healthcare of all sorts. So also all of these places where the environment is a little complex, right? Not like that has multiple sources of identity. And that's where you need something to bring things together. That's where you need that unification. So that's where we've seen the most, the most success and most synergy. That's about it.
Yeah, cool. All right. I think next one. What brought Microsoft to work with Silverfort, Adese?
Yeah, so customer experience is really important to us. So, and we love working with emerging technologies. They really know, the security and hybrid access space. So Silverfort does that pretty well. Deploying the solution, it's agentless, it's proxyless, so that makes it consistent and seamless for our mutual customers. Regardless, like I said, for Microsoft, customer experience and customers are always first. So that's why we decided to work with Silverfort.
Cool. All right, I'm going to go through another few questions here. First, will it do auto discovery on network or manual discovery? Ron, and any thought on that?
Sure. So the discovery process that you saw in the demo, that's completely automatic. And the way that's done is based on our native integrations that we have with various identity providers. So once we set those up, I don't know, with any cloud identity provider, with ADFS, or with your even on-prem Active Directory, we automatically perform that discovery based on the authentications actually coming into that identity provider.
Cool. Next one is, this might be a comment. I'm really interested in understanding how this integration needs to be done. I guess, it might be good to read the website. We're gonna post it at the end. Next one is this solution part of Microsoft Azure licensing or separate licensing required? I guess I can go first. Essentially, to use Azure AD conditional access or even identity protection, we have as part of P1 and P2 licensing. But for Silverfort, I think maybe Ron can talk more about what license is required.
Sure. So as Nati said, you do need an Azure AD P1 license and above, obviously. And from the Silverfort perspective, you do need a Silverfort license, or the Silverfort regular license. And if you don't have it, we'll post a link here, and you're welcome to schedule a proof of value with us, with our team, and we'd be happy to give you a free trial of that.
Cool. Next one from Brad. Can you talk about your experience success with integrating Oracle products with Silverfort? I guess so. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so there's a large suite of products, but we do have various customers using Oracle Cloud, and we do have a lot of customers in the Oracle environment. So yeah, we definitely work with that also, but happy to take that offline. So definitely get in touch with us.
Cool. Everyone, feel free to also add a few comments or questions. We are happy to answer it live. I think next one might be good because it's kind of relating to more content. So Ron, how can customer learn more about this solution and try it? I mean, any link and kind of context that they can go after, that'd be great.
Yeah, so I think that we have a few great resources we just recently released. One is an ebook, describing the journey a little bit more. It's pretty fun to read through. It's a short book. It's not that long, but it's great. Another thing is that and I hope we can link here in the chat, and we'll put all these links in. We have a great blog that really, I think, covers a lot of what we're doing here. And we can definitely, connect you with a link here to get a demo or to get in touch with us, and that's the best way. We'll give you a personal presentation, dive into your exact use case, and that would be great. And we're definitely happy to run a proof of value with anyone that reaches out. So please don't hesitate.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people have question about licensing model and how much does it cost for folks to use Silverfort. Anything to address there, Ron?
Hey, do you want to take that?
Yeah, so our licensing model is subscription based, and it's based on the number of users that you have and that you want to protect. There are two options. One is protecting the entire organization, then we just do it based on the number of employees you have. And the second is if you just want to protect some of these users. So then the cost would be more like based on the number of users that you're looking to protect, with just a basic price for monitoring the rest of the users, just so we get the full picture. The actual price depends on the size of the company, of course, so feel free to reach out to us and we are more than happy to give you a specific price based on your exact size and whether you want to protect or connect every user to Azure AD, or whether it's just part of your users.
Cool. I guess next question. I know that user account is always easy to understand, and we have discussed a lot during the call here. What about like a machine account, like service account? Anything that Silverfort can do to help?
I think that's an excellent question. Maybe we should even link an ebook that we have about service accounts specifically. But We do a lot with regards to non-human accounts. So we actually start out with discovering them. That a lot of the time it's not that obvious. So finding all your non-human accounts, and we do that based on various capabilities. So starting with machine learning, profiling a machine-like behavior, and also looking at all kinds of static parameters. Does the user, does he have an email, for instance, or is his name a service account, etc. So we use a lot of those to create a coherent picture of which accounts are non-human, and a lot based on behavior. And then we analyze their authentication patterns. So that's something that's also very interesting. So we map out automatically what they're doing in the network. And what you can then do is create access control policies for those non-human accounts. And so that's also something that's very interesting. I don't think we touched on it today, but happy to add a link about that also. So definitely reach out if you want more details around that use case.
Sound good. All right, next question. Does Silverfort supports integration with Oracle apps like e-business app? Currently, no connector from Azure.
So I'm not sure about that specific app, but we could definitely, please email us, and we'll definitely be happy to take that offline.
Yep. Sound good. Next one, how does Silverfort compare to the passwordless auth solution emerging in the marketplace by no capability?
So that's an excellent question. We really work and complement passwordless solutions. So I would not say compare. I'll just give you an example. The demo that you just saw, where Silverfort protects the PowerShell authentication, just as an example, you could authenticate in a passwordless authentication with the new Azure AD passwordless offering, which was just GA'd. So we really work in parallel to the passwordless offering, but we allow you to extend passwordless to places that would naturally be hard to apply to. So we work very closely with passwordless vendors, specifically Microsoft, and definitely a lot of synergy there.
Yeah, I think this maybe for Adese. Is it suitable for SMB, or should the segment be enterprise or a bigger kind of company to leverage this solution, Adese?
Yeah, not at all. Like I mentioned earlier before, so medium customers, enterprise customers, it's more about the environment. So any hybrid environments, applications that are on-prem versus in the cloud can take advantage of this integration work together. So it's not just limited to SMBs.
Cool. All right. Next one. I think maybe for Ron here, I think when it comes down to app kind of discovery and then migration, it can take like multiple quarters completed. Any advice or suggestion as customer who are going through the journey of selecting the right vendor to help? How can they evaluate the solution correctly and what they should expect to work on in upcoming months and years to come for the migration, Ron?
Sure, yeah. So I think that's an excellent question. So first of all, in the question, understanding that it's a journey, that's the key, right? So it's always a journey. It's not something that it's not a one-click adventure. It's a real journey. And I think that a lot of there's the initial part where you really need to understand what you have. And in many cases, it's not obvious. So there's the applications you have, applications you have in Azure AD, you have them in Azure AD, but the rest are really not obvious. So discovering them is key. But once you discover them, you'll find out that you have so much things to protect. It usually is overwhelming. Even in a medium-sized company, it's usually overwhelming. And then we try to bring in some intelligence for you to help you prioritize that migration. And there's other places that I would definitely look for that outside of Silverfort also. So inside Silverfort, in our joint solution here, what we bring to the table is, for instance, trying to help you prioritize the apps, right? So if you have 10,000 apps, where do you start? Where do you start the journey? So first of all, what is being used by many users? That's a very important indicator of which app is probably more prioritized. Another indicator is how popular the app is, so how many authentications are being done to the app. Another thing that you can filter out is really which apps are used by highly privileged users. So maybe if there's a certain crown jewel application, some PAM solution, that should be prioritized. So we help expose that out, but another place actually outside of Silverfort that we really recommend looking is all kinds of business continuity plans and disaster recovery plans that you have in the organization usually highlight the most critical apps. So it's not like there's no silver bullet here. You need to bring a lot of information together, and we're at least trying to help as much as we can with the data to support that decision of what you migrate first. And another thing in that journey is trying to make it easier with the capability to stage the app and gradually migrate. So it's not something that you need to cut off at one day. You can gradually migrate a group of test users into Azure AD this way, and over time continue to migrate. So that's a great advantage. Anything to add?
I think you're perfect. Maybe Daisy, anything to add from your side?
No, I think he answered the questions correctly.
Yep, sound good. I think next one, I mean, not every organization have time or resources to work on the migration. The question here is, do you have SI or system integrators that know how to work with Silverfort that can help customer at all? Any thought there, Silverfort team?
Head, you want to take that?
Yeah, we definitely work with partners and SIs around the world. So based on the region, tell us and we might refer you to some local partners. We also work with some of the global firms. For example, we have a great partnership with KPMG and also some of the other global SIs. And they actually have team members that know how to implement and support Silverfort, including this integration. So we can, happy to connect you to any of them based on where you are and which firm you're working with, and help you, get these services from them.
Yeah. Cool. Again, everyone, if you are interested in asking any question, we have a few minutes left, so we would love to get more of your questions so we can answer it. I guess maybe like, a question for Head here. If you think about 2021, like what are the big trend that you have seen from customer or IAM leaders that they want to do to be, super zero trust ready? Apart from like obviously app discovery and app migration, anything else you see that would be top of mind?
Yeah, I think that first of all, it's great that a lot of companies are really starting to take actual steps towards zero trust. I think it's the right strategy. Zero trust is a very general term, and it refers to a lot of different things. It's more of an approach or a philosophy. I think that what's important in zero trust is, first of all, understanding that this term can refer to different things. You have network-based zero trust, you can have identity-based zero trust, and they are actually complementary to each other. When it comes to implementing zero trust, especially on the identity side, which of course I believe is crucial, one very important thing is finding a way to really control any access and monitor it and analyze it and control it in a unified way, which is obviously why we are focused on this mission. Because one of the main problems of companies in achieving zero trust is that access is actually being managed by many different solutions. You have one solution for cloud applications, another one for legacy systems, another one sitting on the gateway at the perimeter, like on the VPN or instead of the VPN. Another one maybe for privileged users. All of these different pieces see just one piece of the puzzle, right? And it's important to somehow bring them all together. This is what we do at Silverfort, and this is also what we're doing with Microsoft. With this joint solution, you can actually bring all of these things into Azure AD and manage them from one place. So this is one key component, is finding a way to bring everything together, all the data and the control. The second thing is you want to somehow analyze all this data. Now, again, keep in mind, this is coming from different sources. Part of it is from your VPN, part of it is from your cloud, maybe a few different cloud providers, maybe some legacy systems. You need to somehow normalize and analyze all this data together. So this is, again, something we are very focused on, and I think a lot of companies who are trying to achieve zero trust understand that this context is crucial. You need to really analyze everything together to understand whether the user is really who they say they are, what should they be able to access. And another piece is, based on this analytics, determining what should be the access that is permitted for every user, what are the things that they should be allowed to do automatically. Because in a large company, one of the challenges is, how do you manually build all these policies with a zero trust approach, which is obviously a whitelist approach? How do you determine who should access what in a large company where people connect to many different things and have many different permissions they don't actually need? So automating this analysis and showing you not only who is accessing what, but what we believe the permitted access or the normal access should be, and then automatically recommending these suggested policies for when to require MFA, when to block access is very important too. And keep in mind, as I think a lot of companies are figuring out now, it's not just about human users. Non-human accounts, service accounts, machine-to-machine access, that's also a big part of it. So when you're planning your zero trust strategy, don't just plan it to protect human users connecting to web applications. That's not a holistic zero trust plan. You want to protect any kind of access in any environment by both humans and machine to machine.
Oh, all right, thank you. Next question. I think sometimes it's easy to look at migrating app, leveraging kind of middleware and kind of the solution we discussed here. But some of the customer might think, should they modernize their app versus kind of use Silverfort and Azure AD? Like, what's the balance that you see? Like, what could be the right guidance of how to prioritize correctly?
So yeah, I'll take that. The real answer is there is no single answer and there is no silver bullet. I think that really you need to look at it at an app by app basis. There's certain apps that are very easy to modernize, certain apps that might be an extremely hard and impossible project to modernize. So what you need to get when you do an app discovery project is, first of all, understand your priorities. And this project, it extends beyond only the tools, right? It's something that's an organizational project, as I mentioned before, and then decide on a case-by-case basis, right? What you modernize, what you can integrate directly, what you need to bridge with Silverfort, but you need to have all these tools in your arsenal. Because I do guarantee you that there's not a single solution that will cover everything, right? You need to, the user experience needs to be unified, and the security controls need to be unified, but the way to get there could change on an app-by-app basis.
Yeah, and I want to add, you don't always have a choice, right? For some applications, it's possible to modernize them, implement some modern frameworks into them, and natively connect them into Azure AD. If that's possible, I think you should do it, by the way. We will help you discover those apps and show you that they can be migrated, but you should. The problem is when you have things that are not even web-based, or things that cannot be migrated to cloud identity because they don't support these protocols. Think about healthcare systems or industrial systems or command line tools or file shares and databases and infrastructure and IoT and many different things that just cannot be integrated with modern web-based authentication protocols. So if you can migrate it natively and build modern authentication into it, you should. It's just not always a possibility.
Got it. That's good. All right, I think we are reaching toward the end of the hour. Maybe like any last thought from all the speaker, maybe starting from with Adese, anything you want to encourage the audience to take action?
Yeah, so we do have some assets that we already shared in the announcement chat window. So take a look. Feel free to reach out to the Silverfort team or to us directly if you have any questions. Like we said before, it's really important now more than ever since remote work has upticked, and you have a lot more employees working from home, accessing applications from everywhere, basically, that you protect your applications, you protect your company assets. So that's my call to action for you today.
Awesome. All right, Ron, anything you want to add or give to the audience as a takeaway?
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for joining, and for those of you who are starting this journey towards consolidation and migration in Azure AD of all your applications and that zero trust journey, and stay strong and really make sure you have the right tools that can help you get there in the most fast and efficient way.
Awesome. Ed?
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank everyone for joining, and also thank you, Microsoft, for hosting us today. It's really great working with you guys on this, and hopefully this was useful, and you understood this unique approach. I think that it's very important for every company now to look into identity as the new control plane, seek zero trust everywhere, not only at the perimeter, not only for some applications, but really for all the users, all the systems, and all the environments. I agree, with the team here that this is really about finding the right solutions and how they work together is the key. So I think what we are doing here together with Microsoft is a great example of this, and I'm very excited about this new offering. So looking forward to showing it to you, and if any of you want to learn more, we're happy to discuss and show you how it works.
Cool. All right. The most important thing, Colleen, do you want to go ahead and talk about all the survey and stuff?
Yeah, I posted that survey link in the Q&A window as an announcement, so you should be able to just click on it and fill out our survey. There's also the request for a demo blog post and article is in there too, so make sure that you check those out. And I guess that's bringing us to the end of our session today. We want to thank you all for joining us, and have a great rest of your day.